Welcome to the Coachzing Show, offering you the latest creative content marketing tips to help you work less, earn more, and help more people. Are you a coach zinger yet? Join the community where the world's best coaches, therapists, authors, and speakers come to discover the latest industry trends and partner with other like-minded professionals. Go to coachzing.com/community to join. And now, here's your host, Doug Foresta.
Hello and welcome back to the Coachzing Show. This is your host, Doug Foresta, and this is a show we help you, coaches, therapists, speakers, and authors to work less, earn more, and help more people through creative content marketing. And my guest today, back with me by popular demand, is Chris Miles, and we're going to be talking about really, I think, some things that will be very helpful for you. We're going to talk about using social media. We're going to talk about how to get more visibility and create the perception that you are everywhere, or how to be everywhere without running around like a crazy person, and also how to tie this in and bring it all back to creating, as we say, earn more, work less, earn more, and help more people. Say a little bit about Chris and bring him right back on. If you haven't listened to the previous episode, I do encourage you to go back and listen to that episode as well. Chris Miles is the cash flow expert. He's a leading authority on how to quickly create cash flow and lasting wealth for thousands of his clients, entrepreneurs, and others internationally. He's been featured on U.S. News, CNN Money, Bankrate.com, and has a high reputation for getting his clients life-altering financial results in his company, Money Ripples. After working as a traditional financial advisor and stock coach for several years, he came to the stark realization the financial advising industry was not showing anyone how to quickly and safely become financially prosperous today. After leaving that industry, Chris has worked to teach his effective, unique strategies for companies like Freedom, Fast Track, and Garrett Gunderson. And now Money Ripples will exposing the popular myths around money that have kept so many from enjoying financial freedom and peace of mind. He consistently practices and teaches small business owners how to do what no other financial advisors can or will: achieve financial prosperity now and in the future, spending time doing what they love most. And I encourage you to visit his website at moneyripples.com. That's MONEYRIPPLES.com. We'll put that link on the show page. Chris Miles, welcome back to the Coachzing Show.
Hey, it's such an honor to be back again, Doug.
Thank you. Great. Thanks so much. So, yeah, we were chatting for a bit before we started the episode, and one of the things that I love to ask people is, like, what are you excited about? What's working in your business? And you had mentioned social media, and particularly Facebook. I was wondering if you could say a little bit about how you're using Facebook in your own business.
You know, not the way many people try to use it when they're using it for business.
Right.
Most people try to use it as a way to, pitch fast, right?
Right. Sign up for my this.
Yeah, and I do very little of that. Now, I do try to let people know what I do, and I'm still improving. Like, I'm not perfect at it because every once in a while I get distracted or whatever it might be. But, my goal with like Facebook especially, that's been my bread and butter, I guess you could say, in my business, is that my whole goal is to get people to know, like, and trust me, to connect with me, right? Mm-hmm. So rather than trying to pitch people or sell people, my goal is to kind of get people to see me, right? Because if you're as a coach, you got to get eyeballs, on you. You got to get, I don't mean like, put you in the spotlight or anything, but in a sense, yeah. I mean, you want to create some sort of celebrity around you. You want to be able to let people into your life, and don't just post business stuff. I post a lot of personal things as well. And I will post at least 2 to 4 times a day, which some people say, oh, that's so hard. Not really. not when you're trying to add value. I mean, the whole goal, we talk about this principle all the time in what I do with Money Ripples, is that dollars follow value. The more value you try to offer to people, the more value you give that people do value, the more money you're going to make. And it's not just about, do what you love and the money will follow, because that's a bunch of crap.
I have that book.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, been there, done that, and so many people will say, like, oh, I'm doing what I love. Well, nobody cares that you just love it. They care that it serves them in some way or solves a problem or adds value in their life, or they want to exchange money to have you more in their life. And so the whole goal obviously is to, how do you create more value? And so on my pages, I try to make sure that I'm creating value. One, I might let people in my personal life. I might have a picture with me and my kids playing every once in a while. I'll take pictures of when I go out for my runs. I'll take pictures of when I go out in the mountains, which I love to do. Like, all those things are part of who I am, and I let people see that. So
when you say this, I just wanted to clarify: are you talking about using Facebook? Are you talking about your personal page, your business page, or both?
Both. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, business page, obviously I'll post a little bit more business, but even then, what I consider sometimes business, a lot of times is actually adding value.
Right.
So do you share articles that make you more like the expert? Do you know where to find stuff, whether it's your own stuff or it's other people's stuff?
Right.
You know, like with this radio interview, like I'm definitely sharing this online to show people, hey, if you're a coach, you definitely need to listen to this show. And the thing is, it does a couple things. One, it adds value for people that are looking for it, but also I know it adds value for you, Doug. And because of
Yes,
that,
I
you want to bring
appreciate
me back on the show.
Yeah, sure.
You know, I'm not just trying to get whatever's mine, right? You know, I'm trying to figure out like how do I add value everywhere I go in a way that people want to add value back, and they want to exchange value. And so that's been the key. And so yeah, on my business page, I'll post a little bit more percentage of business related stuff, but I'll be sharing things that are articles, you know, or blogs and things like that that add value. It might just be a morning thought, and I'll share that on my personal page too. I share a lot of times. I'll share whatever I share on my business page to my personal page too. But on my personal page, like that's the one that people mostly follow me on. It's actually not my business page that most people want to work with me. It's from my personal.
Yeah. That's so interesting to me. And I found that to be the case too, that it really is interesting, right? You think, well, and I know a lot of coaches would say, well, why would anyone care? Why would anyone care what, where I went on my run? Don't they just want my business information?
Right.
But that seems not to be the case, right? It seems like people do want to know who we are.
Yeah, they want to connect with you. I mean, if you're a nerd like I am, you know, post some nerdy stuff every once in a while. I remember one of my marketing coaches. He talked about what Stone Cold Steve Austin said when he was in an interview because they asked him, "Is your persona in wrestling the same as it is in real life?" He said, "Well, of course not. I don't crush beer cans on my head. What idiot is that?" You know, he just said, "I just took what I had and I turned the volume up." And so that's what I'll do. Like, you know, hey, if I'm a Star Wars nerd, I'm going to share Star Wars posts from time to time.
That's right.
And there's going to be somebody it's almost like what one of my other coaches who's a connection coach, he would say is it's the bus stop. You know, your bus picks up passengers along the way, right? You know, I pick up people along the way. I say, hey, here's who I am. And some people might say, hey, I'm a nerd too. I'll relate to that. Or some people say, oh, I'm an entrepreneur too. I love what he posts about that or whatever it might be. And you know, or, hey, I've got kids too. That's cool. He's a family guy. Like, yeah, I am. Like, I'm all of those things. And so I let people into it. I don't just say, hey, right now, if you want a free consulting session or buy now, it's like, nobody likes that, you know, and that will be a minority of my posts. I'll put on events from time to time and I'll promote those, you know, I'll do that, but it's such a small percentage when I do that. My whole goal is get people to interact with me and follow me. And then when I actually do put on a sales post, people will see it. Where normally people wouldn't, right?
So that's part of what I wanted to dig in a little deeper with you is about the piece. I know people struggle with the idea of, you know, sharing personal stuff about themselves, but then how do you make that leap from sharing that, right, from getting that engagement? You know, I know you're the cash flow expert. How do you make that leap from the engagement to monetizing that? Particularly on Facebook.
Well, you do have to invite at some point,
right.
You know?
Okay. Yeah.
That's the key. I mean, and see, my whole goal is, I mean, if you look at like, you know, Facebook and all their, you know, their analytics or, you know, all their stuff that way, right? Like how they get people to see your stuff. Like people will tell me all the time, like even the people that never like or comment, people say, man, I see your posts all the time. You have to understand that likes or comments, I mean, those are usually the minority of people that see your posts.
Right.
There are people that are actually following you right now that you have no clue. And so people are following you. And so when I'm posting, like, that's why I post things that's just like sharing from my heart. Like, hey, this is what I'm thinking about today. And this is what I believe, you know, and you make a stand for what you believe. And sometimes it might stare people in the face. And other times it just gets people to rally with you. And that's the kind of stuff you want. Because then when you actually do say, hey, you know, we talk about this all the time, but here it is, you know, here's how we make this happen. You know, and that's what I try to do is, again, like the more people are following you with all the other posts, the more they're also going to see your business posts when you do post them. But if you only pitch business, I can guarantee you one thing is that people are not going to like or comment, and Facebook's going to say, well, this person, obviously nobody likes their posts, so we're not going to make sure that anybody sees them. And so you're going to feel like you're talking to yourself.
Yeah, because you are. Right, exactly.
You are.
Yeah.
It's crickets.
So that's a very good point as well about the algorithm of Facebook, right? I've noticed that too, that that the more engagement I get, the more people, clearly I'm showing up in more people's feeds, right? Like I can see the difference that as like, for example, yeah, if you once you start getting a certain amount of likes and you start showing up in more people's feed. And if you're not getting if you're getting very little engagement, then you're just not showing up in anybody's feed. And so, yeah, you're completely talking to yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. I just real quickly as an aside, I had to share this because you had mentioned Stone Cold Steve Austin and being that I had the pleasure once of accidentally hitting him in the head with a door. And I can tell you that he is actually quite a nice man, or I wouldn't be alive to be telling that story.
There's no chair that's broken over your back or anything.
There was no
that.
chairs broken over my back. I thought there was going to be. Yeah, I was working as a doorman at a hotel. This was in the late 90s. And I actually can say I've held the WWE belt. It's actually plastic. but I opened the door and he, I didn't hit him very hard, but still. And he looked at me and I thought, oh my God, I was picturing him like crushing beer cans on his head and then, body slamming me. And he goes, ow. And then he walked through the door.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So yes, it's our persona, right. The persona that we take is not always, right. He's not smashing beer cans on his head. And
you just take the best of who you are and sometimes the worst, I'm not saying to promote your worst necessarily, but definitely promote who you are like at the core and then let that show. And you're going to attract the people that you want to attract.
Yeah. I mean, do you find the other piece, I guess, that I'm curious about, because I know that people, another thing people struggle with is in terms of cash flow is consistency. So have you found, do you do this in a way, I mean, is this very intuitive? Do you have a content calendar that you do this with? Or, I was curious about how I know you said that you post 2 to 4 times a day. Is that right?
Mm-hmm, correct. Yeah. Content calendar. I mean, I've had a lot of people recommend I do that. And I do that to a small, much more simple level. There'll be a certain few things, usually the business stuff that I'll plan on, and even a few personal things. For example, on October 21st, it was Back to the Future Day, right?
Yes.
2 weeks in advance, I put that on my calendar. Say, hey, post about Marty McFly arriving in Hill Valley, California.
Right.
And so I put that right on there. I planned on that, and I even found a nice little picture to go with it or whatever, and voila, and had a lot of fun with it because I posted it early in the morning, so it was before everybody else realized it was Back to the Future Day, and I got a lot of engagement.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's a key. But I'll tell you, sometimes you asked about monetizing it. Where I monetize best is usually not just in the general Facebook feed,
right,
of where I'm posting. It's usually in private groups. And it's not because I'm pitching in those groups, because if you ever watch in some of those groups when people pitch, people will not like those. They'll like everything else around it.
That's right, exactly.
And I love seeing that because people are trying to tell you, no, I'm teaching you a lesson right now. Don't post this crap.
Yeah, don't do that. I hate when people do that.
Oh, we all do. I mean, and even though we could see why people do it, people hate it. But what is about adding value. I'll give you an example. I got added to a group once where I thought it was kind of fun. It was more of a spiritual in nature. And I thought, oh, cool. This is going to be more of an outlet for me because, at that time I wasn't really tying anything spiritually with what I was teaching. I was too afraid to, right?
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like my outlet. And people would say stuff and they'd ask questions, and a lot of times around money or abundance or prosperity. And I'd share my feedback and how it tied in with the spiritual. And people latched on to that. I mean, I got invited to speak at several different conferences, which led to several more clients. All because I was just making comments just to add value and just put in my 2 cents to say, hey, here's what I think about it. And people started following me more from that group. And there's other groups that I participate in as well, where if you show up to add value and you really show up not with arrogance or pride, which some people also do, they might comment, which is good, but they'll show up with a lot of arrogance or pride. And people say, well, that guy's a jerk.
Right. Yeah, just commenting alone is not, it's a very good point when people go, well, comment on other people's stuff, But if you're commenting, like, you're a loser, I don't know how you. Right?
Yeah, you're commenting saying you know what, that really stinks. I've got the answer for you. I'm your person. When you start coming off like that, then people really hate you.
Yeah.
Don't do that either. I mean, you really got to come from a sincere, genuine place of just really wanting to serve. Yeah. And and every once in a while, there might be a time to say, hey, check this out. And I'll have free stuff to offer as well. So I'll have an ebook. It's you know what? I have an ebook. Feel free to download it. It's actually answering your question. That's more than I would want to put in this thread. or hey, I have a podcast because I do my own podcast show as well. Hey, I've got a podcast. I addressed that. Hey, check it out. It's really cool.
So I
And
have another question for you that I'm curious about, which is how many groups do you belong to? Because I know people who, I try to keep it pretty small, but I know people who seem to be in every group that was ever created by man. And I just wonder how they do it. So I'm really curious, like, how many groups you belong to, and if you're strategic about that as well.
I don't like to add a lot of groups. I get added to more groups than I ever add myself.
Right.
Some of them I'm like, okay, that's cool. And a lot of them I forget to unjoin myself. I guess dismember.
Right.
I don't want to say dismember myself. That sounds gross. but just to stop following. And so sometimes I'll stop following the group because if they post a lot and it's just stuff I don't feel is relevant for me, I'm not going to really add value. I'm not going to be part of that group. Right. But there are certain groups that I'm more active in than others, and I'll be a regular contributor. And some will even say, some of the admins will say, yeah, you're a regular contributor. We love having you here. Thank you.
That's great. And there's another takeaway in there, right? If you want to really, if you have a group that you really want to shine in, add more value, right?
That's right.
Yeah. I've never heard of that. I've never heard administrators say, Doug, we really appreciate the spammy posts that you've been putting in. Those 3 to 4 a week. It's really nice. We really, that's keep up the good work.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's funny. Whatever you want to be known for, make sure you show that, just like when I go speak, like I'll post when I went speak and thank the person for what I'm speaking. And people are like, oh yeah, you're a speaker. Like they'll start identifying and labeling me as such. If you have a title or label, use it. Like every podcast, I say I'm a cash flow expert and the financial advocate for the entrepreneur. Even when I go networking from time to time, same thing. Like it's creating that brand and that identity that people say, I don't know exactly everything that you do, but I know I like some of the stuff I've seen. What I want to know more, and that's the key.
That's great. Do you ever reuse Facebook posts as well? I've been thinking about this lately. Like, know that there's posts that aren't necessarily time sensitive. Like, do you ever go back and go back into your old stuff, or are you constantly doing new stuff?
Usually new stuff, but it's funny you say that because just yesterday I reposted something I posted 2 years ago. Because you know how they have that memory.
Yeah, the timeline. Yeah.
On this day, I actually saw a really good kind of thought. There's a thing I posted from 2 years ago saying, hey, the word abundance comes from the Latin word abundare, or however you say it, right?
Yeah.
Which means to rise in waves. And I said, hey, how's that for a ripple effect? Money ripples, right?
Yeah. I love it.
And it's funny. I got a lot more likes and comments from that one than I did from 2 years ago, but I was like, that's really cool. I forgot I even knew that.
right, exactly.
Man, I'm brilliant. I should post that again.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's funny. So that was just yesterday that happened.
It was just yesterday. Yep.
That's great. I'm sure that part of the reason why you got more is probably because those 2 years have gone by and you've been on Facebook and you've been showing up. Mm-hmm. So you probably have built up even more of an audience.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing is like you get, it's really about that. And I've done things where I've kind of wanted to go in hiding, where you have life events happening. You're like, oh, I really don't feel like posting. And you don't have to. Sometimes people, I've seen people have lots and lots of followers that sometimes every once in a while post like maybe once every day or two.
Right.
And that's not a bad thing. And the thing is like when you do post, it's quality and it's good. And every once in a while I'll post a video that I'm like, oh, this is so funny. And oh, well, I got 3 likes. That's cool. But, that's kind of how it goes. Not everybody will see it, and you post at different times. Like I like to post at times around, my time, usually around like 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. Especially because I go for an entrepreneur audience. Usually 8 o'clock is when they're waking up.
Right, exactly.
7 or 8 o'clock, then maybe again about 11 or noon. And then again, later early evening, like 4 or 5. And then again, about 8 or 9 when most of the entrepreneurs are browsing Facebook and actually doing work by that point, so.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So I'll try to do around then. I'm not always doing it that exact time because sometimes 8 or 9 o'clock, I'm like, I want to just zone out. I don't care about posting anything right now.
Yeah.
So
right.
Just depends. And usually when I do it at night, it's usually like the fluffy stuff. It's like, it's like funny things, because at that point people are kind of burned out. They really don't.
They want to have a social experience.
Yeah, like if I want to do something that's more thoughtful or thought provoking, I'm going to do it more in the morning than I will late at night.
night is time for the cat pictures.
Exactly.
As many cat pictures as you can muster. Chris, I know that I mentioned at the beginning, at the top of the show, a little bit about what you do, but I'd love for you to kind of just say to listeners in your own words how you help people, and then again also how they can find you.
Yeah, I really get you to stop owning a job and own a business. Because a lot of times people go into business, they go in for control and freedom. What ends up happening is they end up getting stuck in this business where they feel like they're working all the time and they feel like they're struggling and scraping by, and they say, man, this is almost feeling like a job now rather than a real business that provides me the freedom and quality of life that I want. And so that's what I do. Like, I have people that are saying, hey, Chris, I'm making more money, but I don't know where it's all going. Like, I should be better off. What's going on? Those are like the calling card of my people, right?
Yeah.
Because what I do as a cash flow expert, I'm showing you how to find and free up hidden money you didn't even know you were losing, as well as income you didn't know you weren't making, and how you could take that, be able to create more freedom, more prosperity, a better quality of life today, not 20, 30, 40 years from now, like all the financial people tell you to do, right? It's all about how do we create real freedom right now, and especially where your business is the number one investment. That's the key. And so we try to focus everything around that. So I basically do a lot what a financial advisor does, except I don't sell you crappy financial products. I'm basically consulting you in a way that allows you to be able to grow and expand in your business, where that should be your prima donna, your number one investment. And then everything else we do financially is just there to support it. Very opposite perspective of everybody else in the financial advising world.
Definitely. Yes, exactly. That is a very different perspective. And then if people want to reach you, moneyripples.com, right?
Yep. That's where my website, great place to be. Yep.
Chris Miles, I was just thinking, are we connected on Facebook? I'm not sure that we are. So now that you've shared all this stuff, I got to definitely connect with you.
We definitely need to. Yeah.
Chris Miles, thank you for returning to the Coachzing Show. Look forward to having you back again in the future.
Thanks. It's been an honor, Doug.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I want to remind you that if you've not subscribed to the show, go ahead and click the subscribe button in iTunes. You'll get new episodes each week, helping you to work less, earn more, and help more people through creative content marketing. Till next time, this is Doug Foresta at the Coachzing Show.
Thanks for listening to the Coachzing Show. Need help getting your book out of your head and onto paper? Need help marketing your books or speaking engagements? We can do it for you. Go to Coachzing.com to learn more. Are you a Coachzinger yet? Join the Coachzingers community, where the world's best coaches, therapists, authors, and speakers meet. You'll get exclusive access to private mastermind calls, where you can get instant marketing help from industry experts. Plus, we'll help you forge deals and partnerships with other like-minded professionals. Go to Coachzing.com/community to join now.